Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. This time on this edition of Vibe Gardening in Fermentation, we're going to talk about what I learned about planting marigolds this year. So I didn't set out to plant it. Kind of just want to get a little bit of, you know, pest control with misinformation. But then I got something completely different out of it. And now I'm a big fan of marigolds. I'm going to go over what I learned this year. Let's get to it. All right, so let's get into a little bit about marigolds. So in the beginning, I kind of covered in my first two episodes of Vibe Gardening Fermentation. I talk about how marigold really has a lot of folklore, legends associated with it, what it can do, and then in reality, there is a bunch of stuff about what it cannot do in reality. And the one thing that we've kind of explored a lot in previous episode is how, well, one, it is not a pest deterrent. As a matter of fact, the bunnies love to eat them, and I'll show you some of the great photos of what the bunnies kind of did to them. And then the other thing too is it does not really repel uh, bugs that you don't want in your garden, like Japanese beetles. It's actually one of their favorite food. They actually gravitate toward it, which really kind of shows how it's really not a pest deterrent of any kind, or at least the kind that we don't that I'm looking for. It does, however, um, make sure that the nematodes don't come back on the root level. But that's something that, unless frankly, like I plant tomato where marigold was the year before, we're not going to see a lot of that benefit come through. But what we will see, however, is that it does actually attract a lot of pollinators. If you look at my shorts, I have a lot of videos of basically bumblebee and other pollinators really just loving a lot of the marigold and getting attracted to it, which really will help your garden thrive with pollination, which is what you need. You want to save seeds, have productivity with your fruiting, and all the other great things you want. One thing I learned about marigold is that you see this 3-gallon grow bag right here. Yes, it's also supporting an eggplant. Is that, yeah, it's healthy, actually very healthy. We see how it's leaning over. What this shows me is that even though technically, according to the internet, having 3-gallon grow bag, you can definitely have a thriving marigold, but the support is not enough. It's going to lean over. Yeah, you can really bypass that a little bit. You can actually save the situation. Like this one here, I was able to actually stake it up with a bamboo stick, and it's actually going to work. But this is going to take some effort on your end to make sure that your marigold is doing well. Here we have an example of a marigold that's growing in a 5-gallon bucket. As you can see, this one is growing just fine and supporting itself without anything. Even though the 5-gallon bucket wasn't completely filled, it was absolutely enough to make sure that this marigold will be able to stand on its own without much help. As opposed to its cousin over here, in 3-gallon grow bag, as you can see, it's doing well. It needs support, unlike this guy right here. Another interesting thing I discovered with these 3-gallon grow bag is that you see it's doing quite well on one branch. But as you can see here, there's another branch here that basically just died off. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few branches that broke off, which I guess is a problem or isn't a problem depending on how you see it. And as we go into this will lead us to the next thing I learned about marigolds. So this is a scene from my front garden. As you can see, there's a lot of marigolds growing here. The funny thing is only one of them was when I planted from seed. And it is this green one, bucket one, in a 5-gallon grow bag, bucket. As you can see, this bucket right here, the marigold is doing quite well, able to sustain itself without much help. And yeah, it came out was early, so it is kind of way down. So we'll get into a little bit about saving seeds later. But yeah, it's doing quite well. But the other ones, this one in particular, you see how vibrant it is right now? There was actually a branch that broke off from one of the marigold 3-gallon grow bags in the back. And we're able to actually get this. So I found it within less than 12 hours of it flapping over. Able to take it out. I was able to put it in this little pot here. I had a bunch of primrose that was dying already in here. So I plopped it right in there with a little water. That's all I did. It took about a couple of days before it recovered from the basically transplant, if you will, into soil. And eventually it grew to be vibrant and it essentially propagated itself. And it's beautiful. And I have another one here. This one right next to the grow bag. I mean, the 5 gallon bucket is a grow bag, the 3 gallon one. This one's seemingly doing okay. This one came from the back 3 gallon bucket, 3 gallon grow bag that was next to the fire pit. This one isn't doing as well because it came later, but this also took a few days to recover. And as you can see, it's doing just fine. So as you can see here, we got a bunch of marigold getting planted in front of my tomato. This is what I figured out to be actually a bad idea. Well, first of all, it's got other raised beds in front of it. It's really blocking the light a little bit, which frankly is, kind of expected. But then as you look deeper, what happened is that it's just flopping over from probably the legginess it's getting from the light. As you can see here, it's really leaning up against my plastic fence that I'm using to prevent bunnies from basically attacking all my, well, these marigolds here, because the bunny love eating marigolds. And also my cilantro, they love my cilantro. So this plastic fence essentially became a crutch for the marigolds to be able to grow. Another thing too is it really obstructed the sun from all my other stuff, especially with these African marigolds. You got to really consider the placement so that it doesn't end up choking all your other plants. As you can see this one here, I mean, there's been a bit of watering issue. That's why I've been seeing this tomato getting blossom end rot a little bit. It's which is a whole nother thing about it that Gardening Canada has talked about quite a bit with blossom end rot and underwatering. So yeah, this really is becoming a light choker. So it's something I definitely will not be doing in the future of planting it right in front of my other plants. As a matter of fact, I will not be planting it near all my fruiting plants because it's going to just obstruct the sun. So the final spot we're going to go over is this, what I will call the second chance garden. This is where everything that's being too successful, basically too many germination successes, the things I didn't have a plan for, I will put them here. As you can see, it's doing quite well. And the thing that's interesting about this garden is that I did not have a fence for it. And because of that, the bunnies have a free access to them and really had no plan for a fence for them. So they were able to somehow survive here all season without any protection from the bunny. But as you can see, despite of the early nipping off, it still was able to survive quite well. And the other thing about marigold is that it's quite drought resistant. So I barely water this at all this season. And as you can see, it still did quite well. And as a matter of fact, these ones are still getting ready to flower right here. It's got a little bud coming up, ready to go. And next to the hydrangea, here are a few others that are coming up. And they really are thriving in this very limited support area, even with the bunny pressure and the sometimes drought. It is still doing quite well. So as you can see this is my first time growing marigold and coming from seed. So I used these botanic interest African marigolds and I got 100% success rate in germination and has been extremely fun to be able to grow these guys right here, see the pollinators grow, but at the same time you see that there was a lot of learning I had to do, understanding the failures I made and then also seeing what succeeded. And the thing I love the best about marigold is drought resistant and its hardiness, and the fact that it was able to come back from bunny attack, and from as you saw from the final clip there. And I really enjoyed these aspects of marigold, and that makes me really like them as one of my favorite flower in the garden. I'll definitely be planting in the future, and I recommend you to put this in your garden as well because that's going to attract pollinators and make your garden a lot more productive. So as I learned this time, I hope this helps you in growing marigold in your future, if you haven't already. So until next time, keep gardening and vibing. See you then.